So is this a partnership that has worked for both sides? What have been the benefits?
Extremely well. So one of the things that I've been doing here at the Wilson Center was to evaluate this program. This agricultural exchange that started in the 70s had 50 Americans that went to China and about 70 or so Chinese that came to the United States. But then once the agricultural understanding was signed in 1978 and through the past the mid 20-teens, 2,100 agricultural scientists from the United States traveled to China, and about an equal number traveled to the United States. Well, what was the impact of that program? So that's been the focus of my fellowship here at the Wilson Center. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I learned was that we obviously learned a tremendous amount from each other about agriculture. So when you send a bunch of scientists back and forth, they learn stuff.
So things like how to do a better job in dealing with soil or crops.
Some of the things that the Americans learned from the Chinese, where they were the experts, was in insect control. China had pretty sophisticated biological control of insects, not using pesticides, because their agriculture was so old and developed and they didn't have access to pesticides until recently. So they had a great deal of knowledge on insect control. So that was actually the first exchange of Chinese scientists coming to the United States was on insect control. And the second group from the United States that went to China was on insect control. That was something that we wanted to learn about. Also, the Chinese were real experts on multiple crops per year. So they would grow 2 to 3 crops per year, where in the United States we pretty much grow 1 crop per year. So the American scientists were fascinated with this particular agricultural management approach. And the third area that they were learning a lot about was the use of plastic in agriculture. The Chinese in the 1970s were already using plastic to augment and to support agriculture, to make little plastic greenhouses, and use that as plastic mulch to preserve water, to keep water from evaporating from the soil, and to reduce weed growth. We weren't doing that in the United States yet. So those were some of the early things that they learned. And then they also learned a lot about animal husbandry and how the Chinese were raising animals, which was quite sophisticated. And they learned a lot about animal agriculture by going to China and learning about what they were doing in China.